My name is Don Davis. I'm a former senator in North Carolina, 5th Senate District. Also serve as 1st Congressional District Democratic Party Chair.
And so, Mr. Davis, where were you born?
I was born in a small town called Snow Hill, North Carolina. And Snow Hill is a very agricultural-based community, a small population of about 1,200 people. But it was there I learned a lot of values that's guided me in life. The values of hard work and also respecting others and the importance of getting a good education and loving and giving honor to the Lord every day for our blessings.
Can you give us some of your background on your education and your early childhood influences?
Absolutely. Growing up in Snow Hill, there was no substitute to the education that was provided within my household by my grandmother. But I went on to leave Snow Hill. We moved to Durham, to Raleigh, out to Texas, and from there went to the United States Air Force Academy. I graduated with an undergraduate degree in social sciences. From there, I went on to work on a master's in sociology and a master's in administration, one from East Carolina University, other from Central Michigan University. And then I went on to obtain a doctorate degree in education administration from East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina, the home of the Pirates.
What led you to enter into politics?
I was truly inspired early in life. I recall my great-grandmother. I would often walk with her across the different places of the community. And one thing about my grandmother, she always wanted to help others. She had a passion, a desire for giving back, and being that I was with her so often, I saw this in her. And this seed was planted in me, and I think that's the importance of us planting seeds, because there was a seed of service, a seed of giving back, a seed that reminds me every single day that it's not about me, but it's about how we can make a difference in the world that we live in.
Is there one issue in particular that is a priority for you?
Absolutely. Education must remain our top priority. During tough times right now, we've seen cuts in education across the board, not only here in North Carolina, but across the nation. We must realize this, that in order for America to prosper, then our children must prosper, and we must make sure that we protect our classrooms, not only in North Carolina and Charlotte, North Carolina, but across the United States of America. And when we firm up the protection of all children across the nation, then that in itself would foster the tools, the true commitment and knowledge base that students will need to be successful in other areas and aspects of life as they enter the workforce, as they become responsible family members, parents. So I believe it all centers around education, and obviously to continue to walk with the Lord every single day of our life. It's the Lord and holding on to our spiritual foundation in which we're able to be guided. I just think that is so critical in today's society.
You just spoke about the spiritual aspect and a need for spirituality. Can you expound on that a bit? What role does the church play in the community and in politics?
The church should play a major role in our community and in politics. And let us remember, the only separation that was ever brought to play was to avoid a theocracy. But beyond that, the true foundations of our democracy was founded on our very spirituality, our spiritual principles that should guide us. Look at the language. That's why we see in God we trust and so much spiritual symbolism within our government. And let's think about it and look at it this way. As more leaders in our government continue to take Christ with them, then our government becomes better, because truly we are strengthened through Christ our Lord.
Can you tell me of a couple of the highlights of your service in the North Carolina legislature?
Well, I will start by saying one of the highlights was actually at the age of 29. I ran for mayor, and at that time was the youngest mayor in the state of North Carolina. Went on to win a second term, and from there had the opportunity of serving in the North Carolina Senate. And in the North Carolina Senate, there was so many wonderful things, and one bill in particular that stands out is the work centered around keeping kids in school and making sure that children who, as we begin to identify them early, had personal education plans in place so that they wouldn't get behind. And also I was a co-chair, joint co-chair of the North Carolina High School Dropout Commission. And we did some critical work, as you look now across the state, that we're reaping the benefits of as our dropout rate has come down. And for me, this is critical because we must keep our kids in school.
How important was it for North Carolina to host the Democratic National Convention?
You know, North Carolina, the president barely won by 40. This is a critical swing state, and we are going to work and continue to work day in and day out to make sure that North Carolina votes in support of President Barack Obama and Vice President Joe Biden. We believe that with their leadership, that not only is North Carolina and Charlotte better off, but the citizens across all of the great states of our nation.
What role are you playing during this week's convention?
As a part of the North Carolina delegation, last night we had a roll call, and I was able to cast a vote. And I can say I was proud to cast my vote as a delegate of North Carolina for President Barack Obama to be nominated as our next Democratic nominee to be our president for 4 more years.
What was your impression of the First Lady Michelle Obama's speech Tuesday, and then former President Bill Clinton's speech last night?
First Lady Michelle Obama, she was gorgeous, she was beautiful, and she was just brilliant in the speech and the words that she shared. She brought us into the inside of our president, their love and joy for service given of his time and his commitment to others, also challenging and inspiring us to do all that we can to give back and to help and realize, this is not about us arriving on our own and then forgetting where we've come from and not helping others, but in essence, this is about us helping our fellow man, our fellow woman, and yes, we are our brother's keepers. And then as I think about President Clinton, President Clinton did an excellent job in this capacity as the education commander-in-chief or chief of education in just outlining for us why this election is so critical, why when we listen to the alternative, it's not the future of America, it's not embedded in the promise of America, but in essence, we find the true hope and promise in America is with President Barack Obama. And it is indeed, I'm in total agreement. It's an arithmetic. It's about arithmetic. You can't continue to say that we're going to bring down the debt and the first thing we're going to do is cut taxes for the most wealthiest among us. You can't say that we're going to do it. It doesn't add up. The reality of it is, and the truth of this whole matter, is we're all in this together. And that's what life should be about. And we were reminded of that truth by former President Bill Clinton.
What is the North Carolina's North Carolina delegation's reaction to all the events surrounding this week?
We're just so excited, pumped up, and I'm telling you, I want to encourage everyone to go out. Knock on doors, make telephone calls, get your neighbors, your friends, everyone in the church. And I want to be clear, we can, within the church, push get out the vote. We can, within the church, push registration. We can take an active role. And I want to encourage everyone to take this seriously, realizing that the stakes are high, that the alternative is not good for us. And when I look at the work, the very work and principles of those parishioners or the pastors in particular who are reaching out and dealing with all kind of situations that come before us from our parishioners. This is about our families. This is about our wives, our sisters, our daughters, our sons. This is about their future. And that's why I'm just excited that the convention was here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and that others will come out to embrace this community. But more importantly, I hope that as we prepare to listen to our president tonight, and we prepare to leave, that we take the words of hope, we take the words of promise back out and share it with others, and truly get everyone who is eligible to cast their vote on November 6th in this critical election.
What are some of the challenges facing the African American community in North Carolina?
There are still challenges before us, and it goes back to, as we were talking before, making sure that there's access to affordable education, making sure that we keep kids in school. These are issues that are not only important to our children for their future, but also for helping to curtail our economic situation and getting people back to work. And we need to continue to embrace education, embrace the funding, and also realize where support has come. I was sitting in the North Carolina Senate when we simply were trying to figure out how we were going to make the budget balance. But yes, that's when then we saw the hope and the vision of President Obama, who invested in our children through the stabilization funds. And he sent nearly $2 billion and made it into North Carolina to keep our teachers on the payroll and to make sure that our kids receive the education that was important for this time.
What is your advice to young people who have an interest in politics and government?
I would say to be active, roll up your sleeves and go to work. You may not start by running tomorrow, but you can start tomorrow. You can start by going, and whether it's helping to clean up the environment, whether it's helping a candidate in your neighborhood, whether it's working and serving within our church. It's about giving ourselves to others. And as we then learn and become better stewards of sharing our talents, then I believe that as now we become beneficiaries of our increases, our blessings that God will bestow upon us. And if that's public service through elected office, then so be it. But more importantly, when we do the work and we commit to the work, and now after the election is over, we then are always reminded that we are committed and must remain committed to the work, and it's not about ourselves and our own personal ambition or aspiration. So my words would be, go to work, find a way, get somebody, hold a voter registration drive, take a car and encourage people to get into the car, take them to the polls. Start working now, and that work will only better prepare you for public service if that's indeed your aspiration and ambition.
One last question. Once all the delegates return home, what work will you turn to as election day approaches?
I'm sorry, what was that again?
As all the delegates go home, what work will you turn to now? What is the focus leading up to election day?
the focus from here, as the convention draws to a close tonight, must be going back to our homes, to our counties, because delegates are here from all over the state, all over the nation. Let's go back to our states, go back into our counties, go into our cities, into our towns and villages and neighborhoods, and reach out to our neighbors, reach out to those that we go to church with, and encourage them to vote in this important election. And that's the work before us now, and to take the message from all of these speakers, from our First Lady, from our former president to our president, take the message home and share it with those who are not able to listen or to attend, and get them to participate, to engage in our community, and to keep hope alive.